Hi guys, Kim here. The soul R system in a pop-up reality. So I'm going to start with the word solar, which could technically be pronounced as soul R, as in A-R-E. So we're living in a soul R system, and the soul attracts to our individual reality that which is pertinent to ourselves. If you make a note of observing something in your reality, you'll see much more of it. Making a point of seeing white cars, for instance. If one notes that, then when you drive around all day, you'll be astonished as to how many white cars you'll see. During my dream to Atlantis, the being that I interacted there with me mentioned to me that we were all sons. As in sons, S-U-N-S. Or that's the implication I got from that statement, although S-O-N-S could also be so. He imparted to me that each of us are sons that are growing until such time that we could be creating a much larger soul R system within ourselves, maybe expanding our boundaries as we expand our awareness. I've sometimes thought about our own individual realities only being to the limitations of what we can physically sense. So hear, see, smell. That everything else in our world is like a pop-up world that's only created through necessity. As if our perception can only expand that. Like when I jump in the car to go to the shops, that the shops are busy popping up in the material world whilst I'm driving there. And maybe that's how manifestation works, because we're actually creating this material world as we go along, but not realizing it to be so. So our own soul R systems only contain that which is relevant to us in the here and now. I know that at different times in my life I've lived in many places around the world, and each of those realities was entirely different to the next. Maybe based upon the perceptions of the locals, so different things are deemed important as to different cultures. I feel that where we live is very pertinent to how we feel, and what we feel. And it's almost as if the soul chooses the location to live rather than it being a mind choice. So if this world was a pop-up world, then what is stopping me meeting a person that I really want to see, but is currently bound by restrictions? It's only my perception that these restrictions are in place, and that is limiting me from manifesting that. So could I go to the local shops and bump into my son, who's currently living in the UK, whilst I'm in Australia? This subject might not be for everyone, but in saying that, what have we got to lose at this point in expanding our awareness to any possibility? I do sincerely think that it's only our own limitations in our perceptions that can stop us from creating a reality that we choose. Soul is also the name given to the base of our feet. And I was trained back in the 1990s as a Reiki master, and it was long before the idea had become popular, so I had no prior idea what I was getting into with these attunements. But at that time, what completely blew my mind was that during the attunement, I became aware of this energy pouring into my hands and my feet without having any prior knowledge that this would happen. I had almost for my whole life anyway, or especially since I lived in Australia, walked around with bare feet. It was just a natural state. No one ever told me to do that. But now I can see that almost all shoes are rubber sole based. And whilst I'm wearing rubber sole based shoes, the energy pouring into my feet can't be felt that intently. So if it is a soul R system, then maybe one of the things that has shut down our connection to the natural world is walking around in rubber-soled based shoes. Perhaps this is one aspect that leads us to become aloof from our own nature, our natural state of being. If we were truly to combine these two things of being in a pop-up world and just giving focus to that which pops up into our world and let go of all other thoughts of the past, possibilities of the future, would we then be living to our highest good? I've got a lot of questions here and not so many answers, but then again I am merely speculating for the purpose of expanding perception of reality. In order for us to live in that state of being, would we have to let go of all outcomes? But it seems to me, the more I let go of the outcome of any given situation, then the freer I am. But there's also a downside to that acceptance of the reality the way it is. The desire for things to be different than they actually are. Like the current lockdown being experienced locally right now, and the limitations on daily life that all of that entails. It's not ideal, but I would like to be in a situation whereby I knew how I'd created that in my external world, so I could cease doing so and get back to living a more full life without these barriers existing. This is taking the idea of self-responsibility down to the extreme, as there is an allowing from inside of me that perceives this as a collective perception, creating the reality rather than an individual one. But let's say for just a minute that each of us was wholly and solely creating the world in which we individually live in, then movies like The Wizard of Oz begin to make a great deal more sense. Just following a yellow brick road, but needing to incorporate wisdom, courage, and love along the path. Only get to the end of the road to discover that the wizard and that the whole thing's been an illusion the whole time. Maybe that's it in a nutshell, or maybe not, who knows. Like I said earlier, this video is highly speculative, so I'll leave it there for now. Thanks for listening. Bye.